Tech Talk with Matthew Dickerson. Matthew Dickerson. Tech Talk. Sit back and relax. It's time to talk technology.
Greetings, Imagineers. It's time for you to find your sweetest sweet spot. It's time to get into your comfiest chair, in your comfiest listening shoes, and just let your imagination loose for 45 minutes or so. Welcome to Tech Talk with Matthew Dickerson. Now, in today's episode, we may have a bit of something for everyone, I think. Now, for those who love their smashed avo on toast first thing in the morning, they'll appreciate how good it is to get a ripe avocado that is just right. And we've got some good news for you. We're exploring some big news in the bionics front. We've got two great stories about replaceable body parts for you today. And in a world where access to clean, fresh water is becoming more and more of a conscious need, we have two very encouraging options before things get too desperate for us all. But all of that in good time. Before we get into our stories, let's welcome our tech-talking boffin to the microphone. Welcome, Matthew Dickerson. How's your week been?
Well, a bit busy and a bit tired I am at the moment because I don't know why it is, but when you end up doing a bit of programming, I've been doing a bit of coding this week, you have to do it in the middle of the night. I don't know why. I don't understand why. It seems like you just shift your sleeping pattern to a different time.
It throws me, and I've been thrown lately. Yeah. I do a lot of thinking at about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning these days.
And it's strange because my normal bedtime might be, say, midnight, and I might get up at, say, 6 a.m. But when I'm programming, like this morning, I went to bed at 4 a.m. I just worked away and I went, this is happening. I'll keep going. And I glanced at the clock and where did those 2 hours go? But all that happens is I go to bed at 4 a.m. and get up at, say, 8 or 9 a.m. So I didn't really achieve much. I just had productivity at different points of the day. I actually wonder whether it's the lack of distraction because when I'm programming, I kind of want to dive into it and
completely immersed.
Yeah, but when you do that at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, you'll get a phone call or an email or a text message.
Someone will appear at the door and want to have a chat. Yeah,
exactly.
Yep.
So maybe the distractionless time is part of it, but maybe I was a bit short in my temper as well because I had a bit of an argument with an AI that I was using to help me with some programming. And it's in the naughty corner at the moment. It's
not
been
talking to AI for the time being.
It was a simple thing. Often in programming,
it's got to know its place.
Exactly, and it didn't know its place in this scenario. You end up doing a bit of whack-a-mole. You sometimes fix a problem, and when you fix that problem, then it introduces another problem. That's right. Or you add a feature, and that broke another feature. And that's not unusual. That's something maybe I'm a bad programmer. Maybe that's something I've always experienced where you add a feature. And I did this one little thing, and I introduced a gated save to a form, so it didn't actually write anything until everything was right to write, so rather than it writing as it went. And then that broke another part. I went, this has got thousands of lines of code in this particular form. I don't know why we count lines of code. It seems like it's cheating because some lines are like 3 words. Or, there's a line. I've just written a line.
No, they count.
That's right. It all counts. But I went, surely I'll just drop that code into my AI tool and I'll say, find the error here, because I'll obviously just put something out of sequence. And rather than me go through and find it manually, surely you can do it quicker than me. And what it came back with was another 200 lines of code and says, here you go, here's a little feature that'll stop this particular thing from happening. I went, no, I don't want that. I don't want to bloat it out with more code. I'm always focused on less code.
But there's no limit to code, is there? You don't have a ceiling. Does it slow down if you've got too much code?
Well, maybe it goes back to I remember when I was at university writing code, there was such a focus on as efficient as possible.
Right.
And maybe that's because the computing power we had in the 80s is not quite as much as it is now. So maybe it's a good habit from those days. But I'm always trying to make
less
that code
more.
Efficient. And you're right, I'm probably a bit too pedantic about it because it doesn't probably matter that much. If it's 2,000 or 2,500, it's still a blink of an eye for a human looking at it. So maybe I'm a bit too focused on it, but I do like to make it efficient. So I didn't want the solution just to be more code to throw at it, which when I looked at it, I went, that would solve the problem. But no, that's not right. So I went back and said, no, you're not understanding me. I want you to find where this problem is. And it came back and said, well, there's a fair bit of work to go through to find that problem. Yes, I know that. That's why I'm giving it to you. If it was an easy thing, I wouldn't worry about it.
Your AI.
So in the end, I gave up on it and said, no, I'm not even going to take your advice. I'm shelving your silly idea.
Sorry, so you went back to the start and you went through each line of code and just to check to see where your glitch was?
Not quite. I did do some little error traps to find where it
Right.
actually happened. But
Okay.
I did it the traditional way, the human way of doing it, of finding it. And I'm going, well, why am I using an AI tool to help me with programming if I can't even do a simple thing like find my error? So it's in the naughty corner, and I'll have to try another different AI tool to help with programming in the future, because it was a solution, but not the best solution.
So AI can go back to just writing greeting card messages for you now. Is that right?
That's it, yeah. And get the rhyming right. And when you can come up with a rhyme for orange, then I'm really happy with you.
All right, we better get this show on the road, I think. Let's start with our first story, all about toilet business. Now, talking about toilet business used to be a real faux pas. And then bowel cancer ads started, and all of a sudden it became okay to talk about poking your poop with a stick in polite company, of all places. Well, all bets are off officially now that there is a new toilet-mounted camera on the market from designer bath and toilet brand Kohler. Matt, should we smile for the camera? This thing may put you off your business, though.
It may do. We have talked
Give
about
it a wink.
toilets before when I've come back from Japan and South Korea, because they do have a fascination with toilets there. And we've seen other smart toilets, but replacing stuff in your bathroom, everyone talks about if you're going to do renovations in your house, do everything else but the bathroom, because that just seems to add dollars to whatever you do.
That's right. It's going to be expensive.
It's going to be expensive. So you put an expensive toilet into a bathroom, it's just ridiculous amounts of money. So probably some of those smart toilets are going to be in new houses rather than retrofit.
Yeah.
But what I love about this is that Kohler's come up with the idea of saying, let's do a toilet-mounted camera on your existing toilet. That's got to be better than refitting the whole toilet. I know it might be funny when I say, James, when you go to the toilet at my house, just be conscious there's a toilet in the camera.
There's a camera and it wants to take a photo of your date.
That's right. So they've done a few things because they've thought about you, James. They thought maybe people will be a bit conscious about going into Matthew's place when they know there's toilets with cameras.
Just make sure you go and you're empty before you arrive.
Right.
Yeah?
Don't go to the
and
toilet.
don't eat too much while you're there.
So they do say the cameras point down in the toilet, but there's a few interesting things about that. The first thing is when you go to the toilet, there's a little fingerprint scanner near the toilet, on the wall of the toilet, to scan you in so that your details are not shared with someone else.
Right.
So you go in, you register on the app, you register your fingerprint, and then what you do is reported back to you and you only.
Good.
So you don't go sharing your business with other people. So that's a good thing.
Yeah,
so
good.
a bit of privacy there.
Good.
Cameras pointing down, so a bit of privacy there.
That could be like surprising when you're sitting minding your own business doing something else. If, say, you're working and all of a sudden you get this text message with a photo. It's like, what's this? Oh, that's
you.
someone else's. Yeah, gotcha.
So what it does do on a very serious matter is have a look at your health. So it uses some spectroscopy. It basically looks at different markers in your both.
So it's actually taking a photo of the stool.
Well, both liquid
wow.
and physical and,
the
and less
solids.
liquid. Solid.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
That's what
let's
I was
just
after.
go with that word.
That's right.
Yep.
So it's looking at both to get some markers in there. And it's doing simple things. It's looking for traces of blood. Now, traces of blood in either liquids or solids is not a good thing.
No.
So it says, hold on, you've got to do something about that. But it looks on things where you might get some trends over time. So you might, for example, say, I'm just going to go on a bit of a diet or start doing some exercise.
Yeah.
How does that affect my health overall? And again, we've talked about it so many times. When you see something from this, don't go, that's it, I've got the answer. This is the first step in going, I might go and get some professional advice because I've had an indication that maybe something's not as good as it could be.
Well, how many times have you gone to the doctor and the doctor said, how long has this been happening for? And you go, oh.
I just saw it yesterday.
Yeah, just saw it. But it could have been, yeah. But I did notice it, I think, a week ago, or maybe it was a month, or maybe it was 6 months,
Yeah.
That's my shocker. I just can't remember how far back.
And it could be as simple as you need to drink more water. Probably most of us don't drink enough water. So it could just simply be, I've analysed that, and by the way, there's not enough liquid going through your system. Oh, okay, I can fix that. I better just drink a bit more water. And then you'd see you're reporting over the next day, week, month, whatever. Oh, yes, you are drinking enough water. Oh, good. I've made a change as a direct result of a bit of advice from a bit of IT. Fantastic. So I think that's probably where you'll see more of that is in terms of those trends, but also there'll be certain other markets that will go, okay, you need to go and see someone now.
Yeah, and this has got the capacity to pick something that's anecdotal as opposed to something that is a little bit more problematic.
Absolutely right. So I think this is part of where we're headed with the smart bathroom. We talk about wearables a lot. We've talked about how much progress we've made in wearables, but we've left the bathroom alone, apart from Japan and South Korea, largely. But now getting to the point where you'll mount this on there. It's got a smart charging pad, so you don't need to plug it in to charge and then electrify things, and that sounds a bit scary. And then basically this whole personal health lab as part of your bathroom.
Yeah,
interesting.
Wow. Keep yourself in check, folks. It's been 47 years since Professor Graham Clark set the first cochlear implant. The bionic ear was a revolution in medical technology, bringing hearing to children and adults who had never heard before. Bionic eyes, on the other hand, have remained elusive. It appears that catching light and turning it into electrical signals that the brain can decipher has just been a bridge too far. That is, Matt, up until now.
I'm convinced that we would have a lot less to talk about if we didn't have cartoons and fictional TV shows.
Oh, yeah, a bit of Hollywood magic.
And I think of things like Dick Tracy with the radio watch that he had.
Yeah,
so that goes back to 1946. Imagine in 1946 saying, not only will I have a device on my wrist that's electronic and can communicate, I'll have a device that's mobile. Mobile phones weren't really thought of in 1946. So that was pretty progressive.
Yeah.
Now,
how long has the extension cord and the wire got to be?
That's right. And that took a fair while to get from 1946 to when we had smartwatches that you could actually make a phone call on. But still, the idea was there. And the other one I love, it didn't seem that popular a comic, was Richie Rich, and he used to have lots of fantastic gadgets, but the video phone. And I did think about it at the time when I was a kid reading it. I go, but that's only good if the other person you've got has got a video phone as well. But they didn't seem to talk about that in the comic book. Everyone that Richie Rich spoke to, because obviously he had rich friends, all had a video phone. Yeah. And now obviously FaceTime or whatever tool you use, Zoom, is very common. So some of those things like that I think we see in cartoons, in fiction.
Star Trek, was another one where people were getting some ideas about, what could you do?
So this is one where I'm sure they had no intention of that, but the first thing that came to my mind was the good old $6 Million Man. Have you got the noise there?
Yeah.
That's it.
Imagine that soundtrack following you around every time you took
well,
went to the toilet.
No,
I'm just using it enough.
Only when you use your bionic. So that was a bit of an indicator to everyone else, wasn't it? Steve's using his bionics there.
He's going faster, or he's jumping higher. That's right. Or he's looking at something a long way away.
And that was the thing, wasn't it? His eye was quite incredible. And I think they came up with more ideas with the eye. So it started in 1973.
The doll was really cool. I'm remembering now the doll from the 70s. You got a Steve Austin doll, and you could look through the back of his head and you could see through his eye, and it was red.
That's right. It had a little magnifier in there.
Fantastic.
So that's right. I can see just like Steve Austin. But
genius.
The fascinating part about his bionic eye was that you could see a long way away, so that kind of seemed like, okay, good, you've got some sort of telescopic lens in there. It never popped out the front of the lens, but that was cool. But then, I don't think it was there in the beginning, but at some random stage they went, oh, let's make it infrared. So then you could see in the dark, so that was pretty cool. And then it added recording. So then Steve would go and have a chat to someone, and then they'd play back the recording. Oh, hold on, that wasn't there at the beginning. So they just kept imagining other things to add on. But that bionic eye idea, that's incredibly far-fetched, because we've seen pictures of the optic nerve. We've all looked at that in science in school, and we go, wow, there's a fair few things in there. Imagine trying to hook those up again. And no, let's just give up on that. We can't do that.
But also the idea of the retina, being able to receive light and then code it in such a way that the brain is going to be able to understand what it's seeing. Well, and it's just receiving electromagnetic radiation.
That's right, and it's turning, as you know, when light hits those receptors, there are RGB receptors in there, that turns that into electricity that then goes through our brain. But I think that's the secret. Our brain gets random electromagnetic signals, random electricity, if you like, and it goes, I'll do something with that. And then this is the secret of this particular concept we've got here, where the brain works stuff out. The brain is malleable. The brain says, I'll interpret that in a way that makes sense. So let's go back to the medicine here, or the medical part of it. People that have got age-related macular degeneration. And we see ads for macular degeneration, or not ads for it, but ads telling us to make sure we get it checked when we go to the optometrist. So age-related macular degeneration is something that just happens with age, surprisingly enough, and it just happens. There's not really much we can do about it. Sure, we can do some little things with our health and some minor things, but you can't just go, all right, here, we'll put this needle in, or we'll give you some medicine or whatever. It just happens over time.
Can't do that yet.
No, but we kind of almost can now. So essentially, what happens is the cells at the center of the retina slowly degrade. And so people, and I've seen images with what people can see, you just get a bit of a blur in the middle. So you might be talking to someone and you go, I know there's a person there, but I don't know who it is. Oh, wait, can you talk? Oh, I can recognize your voice now. So you get a bit of a blur in the middle, and that's basically your life going forward. So reading the newspaper, forget about that. Recognizing people by voice maybe, but you just get to that point where slowly over time you say, well, I'm good enough as being blind now, which is pretty frustrating. So what they've done is they've come up with this little tiny 2 by 2 millimeter photovoltaic implant that basically goes under the retina. And then that gets hooked up to a pair of glasses. And when you see things in those glasses, it transmits it to this little photovoltaic cell. And then that sends enough of a signal to your optic nerve to go, there's something there. But we can't replicate what the human brain does. We can't replicate the eyeball. We can do something that's vaguely similar. And then the brain learns that this is now what I see and how I have to translate that.
Neuroplasticity is an amazing thing.
And that's what I thought was fascinating about that. It's fascinating that they're sticking a little 2 by 2 millimeter cell in your eye. That's pretty interesting for a start. But then when you start to think about the brain and what it does with that. So they've done some testing. So far, they have put this particular implant in 32 people. Not 100% success rate. But they didn't go worse. They didn't lose more sight. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
So 27 of those people could then get to the point where they could read a newspaper again.
That good vision.
That's right. Not on day one. So this is the thing. You get it in and you go, it's not great still. But then as it starts to receive this better signal, because that's all that's happened with macular degeneration, you're losing that ability to see that signal coming in.
From what I gather, cochlear implants are similar, that there's a lot of interfering sound and they can be a bit frustrating to start off with. But your brain is able to work it out.
And then say, no, I know what to translate, I know how to translate that information.
So this is amazing. It's the glasses that are receiving the signal and they're sending a message to the back of your eye and the contact to the optic nerve.
Correct, yeah, that's right.
Wow.
So you need to have glasses on, but, well, big deal.
Yeah, okay.
People wear glasses. So
if you've got a choice to see again or not.
And I can't read a newspaper without glasses now, so I need glasses. So whether it's using glasses for seeing or having it transmit that signal. So that's fascinating. Now, again, only 32 people so far in the world have ever received this. But that's stage one, and the images are not as fine a resolution as we'd expect to see with our normal eyes. They're not there yet. But again, reading a newspaper, pretty impressive. So,
but it wasn't that long ago that they were talking about bionic eyes, and they were able to put in light receptors into the eye. I'm not quite sure exactly whether or not they were stuck on the retina or somewhere else, or whether it was a pair of glasses, but it was highly pixelated.
Yeah.
And there was just no way any brain was going to be able to decipher these heavy pixelated images. So, and that's not that long ago. I'm talking probably 10, 15 years.
Yeah, and that's probably something where the vision loss was different. So the whole idea of the bionic eye was trying to do something different, whereas this is still relying on part of our eye, our optic nerve still being operational. It's just, hold on, you've got a big blur in the middle of your eye. What can we do about that?
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Here's something we can do about that. So it's probably a little bit different to that in terms of you're still relying on the body to do some of the work there, and you're just getting a better, a cleaner signal maybe. So, yeah, fascinating.
It blows me away. Any eye surgery impresses me because it's such a delicate and finely tuned thing that we have naturally occurring in our bodies.
Yeah.
To repair it.
That's the thing.
It's just an amazing feat.
And for people that have had lens replacements, people that go in and have corrective surgery to their eyes, and they talk about laser, which scares the heck out of me. This idea of the laser in your eye.
You've got to have your eyes open for the surgery while they do stuff to your eye.
If there's a bright sunlight, you close your eyes. If there's a laser around, welding, you close, or you put your welding helmet on, you close your eyes. But now just leave it open while we laser your eye. But people that have had that done that I talked to afterwards say it's a miracle cure. You walk out and 20 minutes, an hour, whatever, you take the patch off and you go, I can see. Yeah. This isn't that. This has got to let your brain learn about these new signals coming in, but it does that.
No less amazing.
Yeah, no less amazing. It does that in a reasonable period of time. So of all the senses to lose, I think losing, my wife would say losing the ability to talk would probably be a good thing, but losing vision would be the one that I would find
that's right.
the most debilitating.
Yeah.
Hearing, we can still see stuff, we can do sign language, but vision.
Smell and taste, life would become a lot duller.
Yeah.
That'd be sad.
Yep.
But we really rely on vision more than any other sense.
So much. So anyway, I think it's absolutely fascinating that we're working on that. So 32 people today, who knows by next year, next week.
And this is only going to get better and better. It's a stepping stone. Okay, avocado fans, you need to tune in now. It may not surprise you to find out that of all fruits, avocados are the most wasted by a mile. Let's face it, folks, the window of opportunity for eating other fruits lies between 1 week for maybe bananas to 2 or 3 weeks for some of the citrus breeds that you can get. The window for getting an avocado just right, however, is measured in hours and minutes. If you cannot make bread with an overripe avocado like bananas, it's really just a mushy brown nastiness if it goes too overripe. Matt, there are a lot of avocados going to waste on a daily basis. In 2025, we still have no answers. What's that about?
Well, we might have an answer here, and I am a bit of a fan of the avocado.
Yeah.
And I'm convinced that those brown ones that you do get sometimes and you leave sitting on the bench for a day too long and you open up and they are brown, you go, I've got to throw that out. It's still so depressing.
It's so unappetising to see a brown avocado.
It is, but I'm sure when I go to a cafe, that's what they use. They say, let's get the brown avocado for Matthew. Because you asked for a smashed avocado and eggs.
The thing that blows me away is, I've had no experience of that. Whenever I've ordered something with avocado on it in a cafe or restaurant, it comes out and it is beautiful and it is just the right texture and everything's right. How do they get it right every time when you've only got about 2.5 hours before it goes off?
Yeah, I'm going to go to the cafe you go to. So.
I'll give you a list.
Thanks. So what they've done is they've said, let's see if we can work out a way to get their ripeness levels right. Because in the supermarket, I've seen it. I'm guilty of it myself. You go over and you touch, every avocado.
Well, you have to. But there's a limit to the amount of pressure you're allowed to socially apply to that avocado. If you see people squeezing it too hard, you think you've just wrecked that avocado.
That's right.
Everyone else.
But then how many other people go and squeeze that same avocado? So by the time you get to it, you go, that side feels all right.
Feels a bit all right. And then you realise when you cut open, no, it's not all right.
That's how 28 people squeeze it too hard. So we don't want to squeeze it. We don't want to use that as a test. But you wonder if AI, with enough images, can say, I know what that avocado is going to be like by the look of it. And, of course, you and I would say, well, you can't. You look at them and
you got some green avocados. You got some sort of dark, purpley ones,
That's right. And, sure, maybe some of them I can go, maybe that one does look just a bit brighter green. I reckon that's going to be hard. But you might get that right 50% of the time.
Yeah.
But one of the things we often talk about with AI is you just give it a data set so large it can pick up things that us poor, meagre humans can't pick up. And that's exactly what they did with this particular instance. They started off with 1,400 images of avocados.
I don't reckon that's enough.
Well, that's the starting point.
Okay.
So they're still training, but that was the first point to see.
I reckon I've seen 1,000.
And you still can't do it.
And I still can't get it right.
So they said, we're going to just test our hypothesis here. They took photos of 1,400, high-quality images of 1,400 avocados. Then they cut them open to show what it looked like. And so then they basically let AI learn from all of that and said, now we'll show you one. You tell us whether or not it's ripe or not based on your experience with all those 1,400. And what they found was just with that sample size of 1,400, which I know you're doubting.
I'm sceptical at best.
92% accuracy in predicting the next avocado that they would get and open up. Now, keep in mind that 1,400 avocados had to die for this experiment. So that's one thing.
Someone had a lot of avocado toast. Right. Yeah.
Again, Mum. Oh, please. So the idea here is that if we can start to train on more, and here's the kicker, we can be part of this because we will be able to have an app at some stage in the near future. We'll be able to go to the supermarket, take a photo of that.
Take a photo.
And if you're keen enough, then when you get home and open it up, you can take another photo and that can add to the data set of all those avocados out there.
Still getting a visual image of people just standing at the avocado stand and going through every single one, picking up everyone. No, I did that one already, mate. Yeah, that's not right. Yeah. And taking a photo of every. Or can you just stand back, take a photo of the whole shelf, and it'll go boom, 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 that one there in the top left corner.
I actually think it'll be something you would more scan as a video, as in you'd have a moving image over it rather than individual photos, because I don't think people would take the individual photos. They just go back to squeezing. It's got to be easy.
Yes.
Any technology has got to be easy for people to use. So this, to me, is exciting because not only are they planning on the Avocado app, which I think has got huge potential, because that's one thing that we often get wrong, but they're also looking at, if they can get the system right, then there'll be a mango app, a banana app. Banana's a bit easy to spot.
Yeah, mangoes
Tomato.
are pretty easy too, I reckon.
You still got to give it the squeeze, though, and then they are more susceptible to bruising, because sometimes you'll be eating that mango, and I love my mangoes. We're just coming into mango season now. The Calypso mango is the only real mango, and you'll open up a Calypso, and it's just the right level of firmness, and you'll get to some spot that's just a bit mushy. You go, someone squeeze that.
Yeah.
Did you do that? Did someone in the household do that? Or was that at the supermarket? So if you could get mangoes as well.
Was it just placed in the bag a little bit too roughly?
Well, it could have been. It could have had something sitting on top. Did someone put the ice cream on top of the mangoes?
Well, whatever means less wasted fruit, it's got to be better. Yeah. And avocados are just, there's so many that must be going into compost and landfill
absolutely.
And whatnot.
Absolutely. Yeah. So millions, apparently. I don't have an accurate number for you, but if I said...
No, that would do. And how many swimming pools full?
Yeah, that's right. If I said 3.4 million, that would sound better than millions. But a lot is the only answer I know at the moment. But the other part is that they're using the same technology for growers, producers, distributors. So then when they look at the avocados, they can say, oh, this one is 5 days away from being ripe. We'll send that to that place that is 5 days away. Or this one's going to be ripe in a day. Right, we'll send that one to somewhere closer. So when it gets to the supermarket, your local supermarket, it's more likely to be in that ripe window as well.
Creepers, we're a clever species.
Well, getting there. We're not quite there yet, but we're getting there. But just working on that.
Potential.
Yeah, exactly.
In a time of great uncertainty, people just don't know how long they have until AI forces them into a premature redundancy. Well, here at Tech Talk, we have no good news for people this time working in the retail sector. Shoppers may soon be walking into stores with nary an assistant to be seen whatsoever. Matt, I reckon that this is going to polarise people in a big way. For one, I like a bit of human interaction when I go into the shopping experience, but we might be losing those people.
No, it's polarised me. I'm polarised on the, this is terrible
side. Well, as someone in the retail industry yourself,
Well, not so much that, but more to the point that what I want in my AI tool is someone independent that gives me advice about my shopping experience, not someone that's paid to give me advice.
Yeah, right.
And Google, for a long time now, has had the whole concept where you search on something and up pops the top results, which are the paid results. But I don't want those. I want the independent results. I want something that's going to give me what I want. And so one of the great things about OpenAI, ChatGPT, for example, is I pay my miserable $20 per month, and I'm happy to pay that because I'm helping contribute to them so that they don't have to run ads, they don't have to take money off anyone commercially. We always knew it was going to go this way, but they don't take money off someone because I'm paying to use the service, and I'm happy to pay to use that service. I don't want to be bombarded with ads or get advice because someone's paying for that advice. Now, the biggest fear factor here in all of this new AI landscape is Alphabet or Google, because out of their $264 billion of revenue that Alphabet generated last year, $198 billion was generated from search on Google. So that's a fair chunk of their income. Yeah. Did I say billion with enough of emphasis on the B there? So if I'm Google, if I'm on the Google boardroom, then my number one focus is how do I stop losing my advertisers to an AI tool? And of course, the boardroom sits around and says, harumph, smokes the cigars and says, it's all right because you can't pay to advertise on ChatGPT at the moment. So we're all okay. Obviously, if they thought that, I'm sure they're not saying that really because they'd have their heads in the sand because we all know it's going that way. So now, Walmart has got a partnership with OpenAI. So when you go to your ChatGPT and say, looking for a new mattress, then it says, here's some mattresses. It just happens to be one that you could just click on right here and buy directly from Walmart. Oh, gee, that's convenient, isn't it? No, that means it's corrupted advice. Now, OpenAI may, I don't know, I haven't got any evidence to say this, they may say, no, we're still being completely independent. It just so happens if you choose that one, it's easier to make the purchase. Well, not sure if that's totally independent. So this will then be the next part of it. How much is Walmart paying to be part of OpenAI? We don't know, but you would think a bit. maybe it's a commission base, maybe it's just an outright number they're paying for it, but you're not going to be featuring on there with the ability to make that one-step purchase unless you're paying some money for that, because obviously you're going to generate sales from that.
Yeah.
So it's all touted as this is convenient for you as a shopper, but what it really is we're going to make sure that you go to the places that pay us money to go to.
So, but are we're likely to see fewer shop assistants because you're just going to walk into the store and you're going to continue to just ask questions to your AI. And then you can walk out of the store again without necessarily seeing a cashier, and with all your purchases underarm because you've done the self-service.
I don't think they're focused on people walking in stores. I think their end game here is you just on your
You do it all online and have it delivered.
That's right, all sitting at home. You go there, I want to find that new vase, that new mattress, that birthday gift. James's birthday is coming up. What can I buy for him possibly? I don't know. Yeah. And then you find something there and you click on it and you get a delivery. And I go, yeah, it was pretty easy. And I really care about you, James. I spent a good 38 seconds of my life on picking out a gift for you that got delivered to your home. So I think that's the end game there. There's a new term that I discovered when I was researching this one called Agentic commerce. Now, I have no idea if that's the right way to pronounce it because I've never heard anyone else say it, but it's all about an agent making the purchase for you. So you're not, as the human, if you go into Google and search for something and you find it, sure, you might go on one of those ads that says pick this particular product, but you're still making the purchase. You're going, yep, click there, and I do that, and I put my details in. But Agentic, sounds good enough, Agentic commerce.
Yeah, that'll do me.
Is the idea that you'll use your chatbot, your agent, your AI tool, and you'll go, yeah, look, find that birthday gift, and you've got my details. I authorise you just to go and make that purchase. So then your little chatbot goes and talks to that particular store. It processes that. You haven't even had to go through and type in different details and select yes and okay, I agree to that. It's all been done for you. And this is the huge growth area. But again, how's that going to happen? It's going to happen by advertisers paying money so that your advice, your independent advice, is no longer independent advice.
Yeah, so but the whole shopping experience, I guess I'm not a big shopper myself. I don't do a lot online or otherwise, but I do some. I would much prefer to walk into a store and talk to someone for that human experience. You
old-fashioned thing, you.
I am a bit old-fashioned in that, and I know that I'm probably there are fewer and fewer of us in the world that do that. But I don't know. I seek the human connection.
Yeah, and I think there is a place for that. There's still a place for physical retail, and you might, as you said, you might get the stage where you get that advice. But I even see it in shops now where someone will be on their phone and they'll go over and talk to the salesperson, and they'll know more about the particular product than the salesperson because they're focused on one product. They go, I want to buy this green widget, whereas the salesperson has got to know about all the products across their store a bit, whereas this green widget, I know that there are these 3 models and I know it's got this particular feature or whatever it might be, and so they know more about that. So they've done the research on that particular product. That's fantastic. But again, it's nice to have that because the person in the store sometimes has we had Mary who was here 3 weeks ago, and she bought that one, and she popped in the other day and said, this was great, but it was better to do this one here. And so you just get that bit of interaction, which is nice, rather than just rely on reviews that may or may not be fake, the information that's on there. So, but that whole concept, I'm not sure if I'm actually comfortable with that final step of going, go and get it for me. It's hard enough when you say to the kids, can you just go out and buy a jumper for me, just pick whatever you want, and they come back and you go, what? You thought I'd like that jumper? You're saying to an agent, go and just make the whole purchase for me and then get a surprise when it turns up. Oh, I don't know.
I don't. Yeah, it's a bridge too far for me.
Yeah, but it's the start, and this is again, we know it's happening and we know it's coming. This is the start it's even better. It's even a step further than the Google search because it'll be able to do the whole process for you. Oh dear.
You probably heard about Amazon Web Services' recent disaster a couple of weeks ago, where their systems went down all over the planet. It was messy, as these things always are, and it served as a critical reminder of how dependent we are on these days on having these things to run smoothly. But Matt, now that the cloud is cleared, what the hell happened?
Didn't we learn in the CrowdStrike disaster from last year not to let the work experience kids to update the software? I'll do that, sir. I'll impress you. And I'll just go and do a little update there. And it was a bit different to the CrowdStrike one, but some components were similar. This one was they did an update on their domain name systems on DNS. And domain name systems, I often talk to people about the post office. You've got a post office which has got James Eddy living at address A. And if someone blows up the post office, well, your house is still there. You still have the same address, just no one knows where to find you. And that's what DNS effectively does. The server that it's looking for, it says, I'll take that server, that human readable name that's a website, and I'll translate that into an IP address. I can find it somewhere in the world. And if you lose the address, you don't lose the server. It's still sitting there with the data, but no one can access it.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. They basically did an update to their DNS servers or their DNS, and that started in one place. And what happened with DNS is it replicates because you want local copies of it, cache copies for faster access. And as it replicates the fault across the world.
Yeah.
And, of course, then anyone trying to access it anywhere couldn't find where they're trying to go to. And it affected some major companies. You had social media companies like Snapchat, and you had Canva, a media tool or web development tool, a desktop publishing tool, if you like. Zoom was affected, Fortnite, Signal, Microsoft 365, a whole bunch. I actually had some people call me on the day that it happened trying to process payroll because Xero, an accounting software package, had been impacted, so they couldn't pay their staff that day.
Banking and whatnot, People are relying on this stuff to run like clockwork.
And here's the scary part. Amazon Web Services hosts about 1/3 of the world's public cloud infrastructure. So something happens to that, that's 1/3. 4,000 flights were delayed because someone put an error in the DNS system. So forget about nuclear weapon testing.
Yeah.
If you want to cripple an economy, just go and take down DNS. And I'm sure some bad players out there, I'm sure I'm not giving them ideas. I'm sure they're working on how they can do that right now as we
We're
speak.
going to have to go back to paper and pens and carbon paper and all that sort of stuff, and that's how we're going to have to run systems from now on.
Funnily enough, off topic slightly, carbon paper, we had a thing the other day where the good old-fashioned banking out of the till is still done with carbon paper, and we had a new staff member starting who was doing the banking, and we said, you put this in there, they go, what's that? I went, carbon paper. How's that work? And we're going, wow, look at this there, carbon paper. Go and look up carbon paper.
And I'm going to give you a lesson on the olden days.
Yeah. So this was bad. They probably had it fixed up within the day, but in a day, a lot of stuff happens.
Yeah.
And often when you have an issue, you have redundant servers, fantastic, but you need to know a way to access that redundant server, and so you couldn't find the address of the redundant server either. So having redundancy is fantastic, but you've got redundancy, you've got to have a way to find that redundant server. So the servers weren't the problem, it was just the address book. So it's a bit of an issue we have with cloud concentration, I think, across the world, but how do you stop major organisations growing? You're too big now, so stop being so big now. That's your ultimate aim, isn't it?
And how big is too big?
Yeah, you want to be the dominant player.
We can see when something is too big, but what's the stage that they become from being a good size to being too big?
And by the time in America the Department of Justice sometimes steps in and talks to companies like Microsoft, then they're already at that stage where they're too big. Yeah. So now, on a sinister side, if I'm now stroking my cat sitting in my comfy chair,
wearing your monocle,
that's the one. What if I'm Jeff Bezos, say, and I go, I want to hold the world to ransom.
Yeah.
I've got 1/3 of the world's public cloud infrastructure at my fingertips.
That is a Bond movie plot, right?
It is, absolutely. Yeah. Now, nothing
against
Jeff
Bezos.
Crazy. I'm sure he's not going to do that, but he could, because he controls so much of it. He might have just done this as a little experiment and said, I wonder how much of an impact that would have on the world. We'll just do this deliberately. Gee, now we could do something quite significant with that.
With great power comes great responsibility.
No. Anyway, hopefully it was just a glitch. Hopefully the work experience kid has learned his lesson.
We've all learned a lesson there.
That's right.
And get ready for the carbon paper and printing things out in triplicate.
That's right.
We can pretty much 3D print anything these days. Far from just plastic spare parts, trinkets and eccentricities, we can print metallic machines, concrete infrastructure and even food. So there are a few surprises now that we can actually print water straight out of thin air, Matt.
It sounds like that, doesn't it? It's not quite.
Let me print you a glass of water.
So what we've got is a concept called...
Run you a bath, but it's going to take me a couple of days.
It will take a few days, yeah. Water from air is the concept,
Yeah.
which we are good at naming things sometimes. We do name things the bleedingly
Say
obvious.
what you see.
That's
Yeah.
right. And what these couple of graduates have done, they're at the Munster University of Applied Sciences, and what they've done is they've come up with a 3D printed prototype device. It looks like a water pitcher, to use a very American term there with pitcher, but it looks like a water pitcher. But that water pitcher, with some heat, will give us, in a couple of hours, about half a litre of water. And you go, wow,
Yeah.
how does it do that? Now, it does it by your favourite thing, material science. You've got metal organic frameworks, MOFs, and they've basically got that in a unit, and it relies on heat. Now, the heat can come from the air if it's a warm enough environment. The heat can come from an external device like power. But in using that, it captures the water and purifies that and then ends up at the bottom of the pitcher with that, let's say, half a litre over a couple of hours, just from the air. Now, the first thing you think of is, great, let's go to somewhere like Darwin in Australia that's very humid, and there's enough humidity there, you can almost hang out a piece of cloth and there'll be water dripping out of it in half an hour. This will work in as low as 20% humidity.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
right.
So you think, well, it's great in a humid environment, but I don't need water in Darwin. I need water in the middle of the desert.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure some deserts get below 20%, but 20% is pretty dry. So with this, you could take these devices on a household level and say, I've got enough water that I can produce out of this for maybe a couple of people. Maybe put a couple of them around the house, and I've got enough water for my family to be able to live. That might be because you've got water or lack of water in certain areas. It could be a disaster as well. You have a disaster that takes out power, you have a disaster that affects infrastructure, then people have these in their homes. But the coolest part is they've released the actual components that need to be 3D printed so that anyone with their 3D printer and the right components can print this. So they're not trying to say, we'll go and make 1 million of these and sell them for $1 bazillion each.
Yeah, right.
They're saying you go and print your own because we want the world to have access
That's fantastic.
to drinking
isn't it?
water. Yeah.
How altruistic is that?
Yeah.
And well done to those guys. Yeah.
Yeah. So it is quite fascinating, and I'm intrigued about how much power it would need, because we do know that we've got other concepts out there that can take water out of the air, but typically the power that's needed for those is quite high. So the secret in this one is the MOF, the metal organic framework, and that's where it captures enough water to be able to condense that water.
Well, we're looking at the potential for climates to be drying out and droughts to be a much more regular and intensive thing. So, what a godsend.
Yeah, that's right. So this is quite a fascinating technology, worthwhile having a bit of a look at.
So we've talked already today about how tricky it is to replicate the human eye. Well, let's add human hands to that list. There's a reason why babies are so fascinated by their own hands, and you'll never appreciate it until you try to build an actual mechanical hand for yourself, so I'm told by reliable sources. The range of movements, the sensitivity of touch, the power grip and the precision grip, our hands are just biological miracles. But the folks at Boston Dynamics have gotten close to building a suitable match, Matthew.
So the good old human hand, 30 muscles, 27 joints, 27 degrees of freedom, 17,000 touch receptors. Go and build one of those, will you?
Yeah, the permutations on all those stats there, that you can get some of those things right,
Yep.
but that could blow out other things, and to keep it the size of your hand as well.
And there was a fascinating experiment that I did when you remember the days of uni when there'd be, hey, let's go and be a part of this experiment, and you get paid $10 or whatever to be a part of it.
Yeah, right.
You were normally looking for the ones that saw how much alcohol impacted your ability to do something. But I did one time where they had a number of pins. They would actually touch you with these pins, and they were certain distances apart to work out how different parts of your body were sensitive in terms of how far apart you could detect the pin. So they might have the pins 5 millimeters apart, and you could feel it on your leg and you go, yep, that's 2 pins. And then they do that on your hand, yep, that's 2 pins. Then you just keep shrinking it down, and you'd get to the point where they were very close together, and on your hand you could still go, no, that's 2, but on your leg you go, well, it's just one big blob. So it was quite fascinating. I'd never thought about how we had different levels of sensitivity over our body until they started sticking little pins into me to see how sensitive different parts were. And that's where you get that incredible control that we've got. we've got to go back to cartoons a little bit, though, because when they were drawing cartoons in the early days, when they had to hand draw different cartoons and have them in different images that they'd have to keep redrawing, 5 fingers on a human, 5 fingers on something was difficult to draw. So we end up with a bunch of 3-fingered cartoons.
They used to put them in gloves as well.
Gloves, that's right.
Yeah.
That made it easier. So that was part of what they've worked out now, that companies like Boston Dynamics, Figure AI have come up with hands that are not as complicated as the human hand, because it is hard to replicate all that. So, for example, Figure AI has got a new Figure 03 humanoid robot. They've actually gone for 5 fingers, but Boston Dynamics has gone for a 3-fingered gripper because they figure that's all you need. What do you need to do with that hand? You don't need to do all the things that the human hand does.
Well, the fingers that we tend to use are obviously our thumb. The index finger and the middle finger by far carry the burden of most of the gripping that we do.
Yeah, and that's exactly what most robotic manufacturers have come up with.
The little finger, interestingly enough, is a pressure finger. It's the one that detects the fine pressure.
Yeah, right.
But if you can get that to happen in other ways, you only need 3 fingers.
Yeah, and so Boston Dynamics have got their Atlas robot, and again, they've come up with the 3, and it's important that it's opposable. So you've got your thumb and 2 other fingers there, call them fingers if you like, grippers, and that's enough to be able to pick up things. But what we're trying to do with our robots is maybe not the impossible, but the very difficult. We want our robot to be able to pick up a heavy couch in the lounge room and move it out to the other room, but also want to be able to pick out an egg out of the fridge and break it and cook an egg for us. Yep. And we can do that with some limitations there, but a robot to be able to have the strength and the speed of access,
the power,
as well as the fine motor control and the pressure sensitivity, that's what's proving the challenge. Now, one of the big things, and I know you've talked to me before about this, is the camera in the hand. Do you want to rely on a camera in the hand? Some of them do. Some of them have got a camera, so they go, oh, I'm getting closer. Okay, slow it down, and now not so much pressure there. Other ones are built with pressure sensors in the fingers or the grippers to say, well, I don't need to know exactly how far away I am because I can detect that when I touch it, and then I can just start to squeeze to the right level of strength to be able to lift that up. And then when you lift it, you know how heavy it is. So we need to grip something that's heavy harder than something that's light. We don't need to grip an egg very harshly because it's pretty light. But if we're going to pick up a lump of gold that's sitting on our bench, which I often have sitting around my bench, a bar of gold, then I need to be able to grip it much tighter because it's heavier to pick up.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that goes on in our brain.
Many computations that need to occur just to lift and pick up things and guide things with our hands.
Yeah. So I'm actually interested that the figure has gone with 5 fingers because I'm just wondering why they would go for that additional complexity, because you've got to make all those work together. You've got to make all that, I suppose, more points of failure there. When I get my household robot eventually, I'm okay with 3 fingers. I'm not that pedantic about
it.
The 5
looks freaky
fingers.
though, so maybe it's just that human element. Or it could be that you can teach those other 2 fingers to do other tricks.
Yeah, well, I still like the idea of the 6 fingers so that you can play pieces on the piano that no human could play because you've got the extra finger on each hand. That seems like a good use for that. Tesla's Optimus robot also has gone with 5-fingered hands, but we know there's a bit of smoke and mirrors with the Optimus robot.
Yeah,
so
still waiting for the magic to happen there.
Is there really a person inside there? Is it really just something? So we're getting there. We're getting closer. And there's a bit of a difference in focus. There are some of the robots that are going for industrial use, whereas other robots, the ones that I want, are the ones around the household. And probably the industrial robots, there's more to be made from those because people are paying a lot of money to make their production line faster and quicker, and so there's money to be made. Maybe there's not as much that people will pay for a household robot, but there's a big market. There's a lot of billions of people out there in the planet that would like, well, all of us would probably like a robot. They might want to pay for it. It's the problem.
Now, back in the 80s, I had a mate who had a hat with a battery-powered fan attached to it. It was enormous and clunky and beautiful and terrible all at once, but he had his own personal climate control and no one else did. Mate, I gather that in 2025, as far as personal climate control goes, we can do a bit better than a ginormous fan hat.
Oh, I do like the look of it. So I assume it wasn't a big propeller on the top of his hat. that
Not
spun
on
around.
the top, no, but it was off the brim or whatever.
Yeah, and kind of blew down your face.
Yeah, and it was a clunky fan that was the size of your hand and whatnot. And
I've seen people with the cool little foldable ones. It looks like a thick pen, like a sort of a highlighter.
Yeah.
Maybe sort of that size, and the wings on it collapse down on the side when they're not spinning, and you turn it on, and it spins out with force, and then they
but
go.
you've
out
got to
there.
hold that with your hand, haven't you?
You do. It's a bit clumsy that way.
Yeah. You
Maybe
want something you
they've
can
got
wear
stands
on
on
your
them. I'm
head
not
and
sure.
or wear on your body and
Wear on
just
your body.
cool you down or warm you up.
And with days that we've had already so far in our spring, hitting close to 40 already, then maybe cooling down will be good. But that's exactly what Sony's got. They've got a cool concept where you've got a thermal device that sits around your neck. Now, a lot of blood flow goes to our head. We know our head's a bit greedy, our brain's a bit greedy for blood.
Yeah.
So a good place to cool down our body is to cool down where that blood's flowing through our neck, because it's close to the surface and we can get access to a large volume of it. So that's where Sony have gone with this. They've got basically a cooler or a heater that sits around your neck. It can cool or warm continuously for up to 34 hours, which I thought was very impressive.
34 hours.
And it doesn't have a huge battery pack with it, so I thought that was pretty
You can
cool.
go on a long walk with that.
You can go on a long walk with that. What they talk about is that it can provide cooling of 10 degrees Celsius below the ambient temperature and warming of 8 degrees Celsius above the ambient temperature.
How about that?
That's pretty good. Yeah, I thought that was pretty impressive. So that's not relying on a fan blowing and using our sweat to cool us down. That's relying on something giving us coolth or giving us some heat.
Cool. This is sounding like a Christmas present.
It is, doesn't it? You've got to like the person. They're $300, so you've got to like the person a bit. So a family Christmas present, maybe not so than a random friend that you might have that'll be your friend for life. It's lightweight, 90 grams. It doesn't make a noise like a fan would, because it'd be a bit hard on the phone, wouldn't it, with the fan blowing. What was that? I'm in a really windy area. It's just the fan blowing in your face. And a full charge only takes about 2.5 hours, so you can charge up and keep going for over a day. So good little concept.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and maybe you could get away with not looking too silly with a big sort of scarf.
It'll become
around
normal.
Maybe
It'll become normal.
Well, we have talked about that, haven't we? That private or personal climate control might be the thing. Don't try and heat up your whole house or the whole office. Just heat up or cool down you, because that uses a lot less power than
You
heating
show
up
up to the
whole
office
space.
wearing this thing around your neck and people just brush it off. Oh, he's got that cool thing that costs $300.
That's right. He's got a nice friend that bought him that for Christmas.
Now, I have a story that I share sometimes in moments of levity with close friends. It's about a car trip one hot midsummer's day, had a particularly dry throat, and a bottle of water that I conveniently found rolling around on the floor behind the driver's seat. An important detail here is that also at that time I was the father of a toddler who was still developing the skill of drinking without creating major backwash. Now, maybe you can fill in the blanks for this story, but the crux is that the next story that we're about to tell you is all about a water bottle that can kill microbes in fetid water, Matt.
I don't want to go further with your story, because it sounds like it has an ugly ending.
Well, yeah, no, the car stank once I realised what I'd done, and it just,
So there are water bottles now, that have water purification built into the actual bottle itself. How cool is this?
Yeah,
now,
amazing.
I've actually seen versions of this. The one I was thinking of is a hard physical bottle, but I've actually seen ones that are collapsible as well, so that when you're carrying it, there's the actual hard container that would normally carry the water. It's just plastic and it collapses. You can roll it up, fold it, flatten it down, whatever. There's only the lid that's solid, or ones like this one that are basically fully solid. And so they claim 99.9999%, 4 nines after the decimal point there, of bacteria is killed by the neutralization process here. So it's basically using light, takes about 60 seconds, non-toxic, mercury-free UVC light, and it breaks down that bacterial DNA. How cool is
Just
that?
uses the UV light. I think that's
UV light,
amazing.
yeah.
That's great.
And so this particular model that I'm looking at, 740 mils it holds in the water bottle. So that's a fair bit of water to purify. Now, how good would it be? You're walking out in the bush, you see an old dirty stream with dead animals in it.
It's not going to change the turbidity. You're still going to get that murky water, but
Yeah.
you're not going to have the microbes in it that are going to cause.
And here's the interesting thing. We use turbidity as a test of whether or not we should be drinking that water.
Yeah.
But the turbidity itself isn't the problem. It's an indicator
Yeah.
there might be something in there. So my logic with this one was you could take that dirty water, you could apply this treatment to it, 60 seconds later you go, all the bacteria is killed. It still looks pretty disgusting,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you should be okay to drink it.
But you're going to be okay
Yeah.
to drink it. Now, in places where water is in short supply, and particularly for people out who are worried about surviving rather than having lovely crystal clear water.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. It's a mental thing, isn't it? So just close your eyes, I would say, and drink it. That'll be okay.
Well, if Bear Grylls can drink his own urine, then surely.
Yeah, but we know
We could
Bear
get-
Grylls was helicoptered off to a motel each night. So
And he had the option not to. He was
right.
actually choosing to do that.
that's right. The other thing is it's a double wall vacuum insulation, which we love double wall vacuum insulation because it does keep things cold or hot for a longer period of time. It'll keep water cold for 24 hours and hot for 12 hours. And even I've seen people that drink out of coffee cups that are double wall insulation coffee cups. So it's still exposed at the top, but they pick it up 15 minutes later and they say it's still hot. Like, it's fantastic. So I do love those double wall insulation. They seem to be a very cool concept in terms of that. So the whole thing is, to me, just a great way. If you go bushwalking, you use water that you're not confident around the house, that you think you've got water coming into your household that isn't perfect, then use this. But again, we're getting back to such personal levels. We're not relying on a water filtration plant treating gigalitres of water. We're saying, no, I'm just going to treat my little 740 mils, thanks very much, and have my little heating pack around my neck and just go on a very personal level, which may be a good thing because we're not relying on the big infrastructure to be able to do it all the time. Yeah, quite fascinating.
Absolutely. And with that, this race has been run and won, and I reckon we've just had a podium finish, you and I. Well done. Congratulations.
So just a quick story that I thought of when we were doing the DNS story. There was a trick that we played on a friend once, which we thought was hilarious, but he didn't like us for a long time afterwards. He'd gone away somewhere and he talked about his CD collection so much that it was a flatmate of ours. We went into his room and we took all the CDs out and swapped them into different cases. Oh. That was fun to do and took us all of 5 minutes. But to untangle that is a long process.
Because the first act required no care.
Correct. And I thought about that with the DNS system that I talked about before with the Amazon Web Services. They still exist. All these CDs were still there. We didn't wreck them. We didn't harm them.
Fine.
They were all there. But when he pulled out the Pink Floyd album and opened up and there was the Beatles, then you've got to go and get the Beatles. And when you take that one out, it's not the Pink Floyd CD that's in the Beatles. That's somewhere else. So
The moral of the story is, folks, never brag about your CD collection.
or don't be my flatmate. One or the other.
And with that, we're calling it closed. Another wonderful episode of Tech Talk with Matthew Dickinson. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in. Tech Talk is a home-baked podcast, just like your grandmother would make if she was right into technology, and she would love to talk about technology, let's say. I'm your host, James Eddy, wishing you a wonderful week ahead, and we hope to catch you again in another week's time, where we'll deliver another freshly home-baked episode of Tech Talk with Matthew Dickinson. Hope to see you then. Take care in the meantime.